I matched with my mother on a dating app. Neither should be there. The notification sound made my stomach drop to the floor. It's a match. I stared at my phone screen, thumb frozen mid-swipe on Tinder. The woman smiling back at me had blonde highlights, laugh lines around green eyes, and was wearing the same coral lipstick I'd helped her pick out at Sephora last month. My mother. Lisa fucking Patterson. Age 42, looking for something casual and discreet. I fumbled with my phone so hard I nearly dropped it on my dorm room carpet. My roommate Jake looked up from his PlayStation controller, eyebrows raised at my sudden choking sounds. Dude, you okay? You look like you just saw a ghost. More like I wished I had. A ghost would have been easier to explain than why my supposedly happily married mother was on a hookup app at 9:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night, claiming to be recently separated, in her bio. I slammed my laptop shut and locked my phone screen, heart hammering against my ribs. This had to be some kind of mistake. Maybe someone stole her photos. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe I was having some kind of stress-induced hallucination from my upcoming economics midterm. But I knew that smile. I knew the small scar above her left eyebrow from when she fell off her bike at age 7, a story she told me a dozen times. I knew the way she tilted her head slightly to the right in photos because she thought it was her good side. I reopened the app with shaking fingers. Asterisk, hey handsome face blowing a kiss, love your profile. I'm free Thursday if you want to grab drinks, somewhere private. I'm married but going through a rough patch. Husband works nights so I have plenty of time to play. Zuxo, Lisa, asterisk. The message had been sent 3 minutes ago. To me. Her 19-year-old son. I wanted to throw up. Dad didn't work nights. He worked doubles, 16-hour shifts at the manufacturing plant, because mom told him she wanted to go back to school. He'd been doing it for 8 months, coming home dead on his feet at 2 a.m., collapsing into bed still wearing his work clothes because he was too exhausted to shower. All so mom could pursue her night classes in digital marketing. Except apparently her classroom was the back booth of whatever bar she was meeting these guys at. My phone buzzed again. Asterisk, did I scare you off? I promise I'm worth the risk, winking face, asterisk. I stared at the ceiling of my dorm room, listening to Jake curse at his video game, trying to process what I was seeing. 24 hours ago, my biggest problem was whether to major in business or communications. Now I was sitting on a nuclear bomb that could obliterate my entire family. Mom had been acting different lately. Working late, 3 nights a week. New clothes she claimed were on sale. That expensive perfume she said was a gift from her study group. Always checking her phone during dinner and smiling at the screen in a way that made Dad ask, "What's so funny, hon?" She'd just laugh and say, "Oh, nothing. Just a meme from one of my classmates." I opened our family text thread and scrolled up through weeks of her messages. Asterisk, late night again. Don't wait up. Asterisk, asterisk, study group running long. Asterisk, asterisk, professor scheduled extra sessions this week. Asterisk. All lies. Every single one of them. While Dad killed himself working overtime to pay for her fake education, she was out there shopping for affairs on dating apps like she was ordering takeout. I screenshot everything before she could unmatch me, my hands trembling as I saved the evidence that would destroy my family forever. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that message, asterisk, I'm married but going through a rough patch. Asterisk. By 3 a.m., I was back on my phone, scrolling through Mom's entire dating profile like I was investigating a crime scene. Which, in a way, I guess I was. She'd been thorough with her deception. Professional photos I'd never seen before, probably taken during one of her supposed girls' lunches with Aunt Karen. Her interests listed as wine tasting, traveling, and trying new things. The only thing accurate was her love of romantic comedies, and even that felt tainted now. But it was her location settings that made my blood run cold. She'd set her radius to 15 miles from our house. Our small town of Millbrook only had about 8,000 people. She was actively hunting for affairs in her own backyard, where anyone could see her. Where Dad's coworkers might spot her. Where my high school teachers lived. I started doing the math. Mom's night classes started 8 months ago, right after Dad picked up the double shifts. 3 nights a week, roughly 12 times a month. If she'd been meeting different guys even half those times. My stomach churned. I grabbed my laptop and logged into our family phone plan account. Mom had added me as an authorized user last year when I needed to upgrade for college. I'd never thought to abuse that access before, but desperate times called for desperate measures. Her data usage was insane. Gigabytes and gigabytes during her supposed class hours, all from dating app activity. But what really caught my attention was her location history. Tuesday nights at Rosario's Bar and Grill, that upscale place 2 towns over where Dad could never afford to take her. Thursday nights at the Hampton Inn off Route 9. Always the same pattern, arrive at 7 p.m., leave by 11 p.m., then drive straight home to play the exhausted student. I felt like a private investigator uncovering a conspiracy, except the target was my own mother and the victim was my dad, who was probably getting ready for work right now, making himself coffee in our kitchen while believing his wife was faithfully asleep upstairs. The worst part? She was good at it. Really good. She'd call Dad every Tuesday and Thursday at exactly 8:30 p.m. with some fake study update. "We're just taking a break," she'd say, her voice slightly breathless in a way I now understood differently. "Learning so much. Professor Martinez is really pushing us tonight." There was no Professor Martinez. There was no digital marketing program at Millbrook Community College. I checked their course catalog at 4 a.m. while Jake snored in the next bed. But there was definitely a Derek, 38, who'd messaged her back on Sunday, asterisk, can't wait to see you again Tuesday. Same room as last time. Asterisk. And a Michael, 45, whose conversation history showed they'd been meeting up for 3 months, asterisk, your husband's still clueless. You're such a bad girl, Lisa. Asterisk. And a James, 29, Jesus Christ, he was only 10 years older than me, who'd sent photos I immediately deleted before they could burn themselves into my retinas permanently. By sunrise, I had enough evidence to destroy her 50 times over. Screenshots, location data, message threads going back months. A complete dossier of betrayal that would end my parents' 18-year marriage in approximately 15 minutes of revelation. The question was, what the hell was I supposed to do with it? Dad would be devastated. Humiliated. All those extra shifts, all that sacrifice, all for nothing. But he deserved to know the truth, didn't he? My phone buzzed with another message from Mom's profile, asterisk, still thinking about drinks Thursday. I promise I'll make it worth your while face blowing a kiss, asterisk. That decided it. She wasn't stopping. If anything, she was escalating. Time to make a choice. I spent the entire next day in a fog, missing half my psychology lecture and barely touching my lunch. Every time my phone buzzed, I jumped, thinking it might be another message from Mom's profile. But she'd gone quiet after I didn't respond to her Thursday night invitation. By Wednesday evening, I'd made my decision. I couldn't just sit on this information like some kind of perverted secret. Dad deserved to know what his wife was really doing with all those late nights and new clothes he was paying for with his overtime blood money. I was going to tell him. Friday night, when he got home from his shift. I'd show him everything, the screenshots, the location data, the months of lies. It would destroy him, but living a lie was worse than living with the truth. At least, that's what I thought until Jake came back from his evening class with news that made everything infinitely more complicated. Dude, weird question, he said, tossing his backpack onto his desk. Your mom's name is Lisa Patterson, right? Blonde hair, works at Millbrook Elementary. My blood turned to ice water. Why? My cousin Derek was showing me this dating app girl he's been hooking up with. Says she's incredible, totally wild, married but her husband doesn't know. He showed me her picture and I swear it looked exactly like your mom from when I met her at orientation. I stared at him, feeling the world tilt sideways. Derek. The same Derek whose messages I'd read. What's your cousin's last name? Morrison. Derek Morrison. He's like 38, divorced, kind of a sleaze honestly. Always bragging about his conquests. Jake paused, studying my expression. Oh shit. Please tell me that's not actually your mom. I couldn't answer. I just grabbed my phone and pulled up Derek's message thread with Mom. Derek Morrison, 38, construction manager. There was his photo, Jake's eyes, Jake's nose, but older and wearing a cocky smirk that made me want to punch something. Ryan, man, talk to me. Is that her? Yeah, I whispered. That's her. Jake sat down heavily on his bed. Oh, fuck. Dude, I'm so sorry. Derek's he's been talking about her for weeks. Says she's his Tuesday regular, meets him at some hotel. He showed the guys pictures of, he stopped abruptly. Pictures of what? Nothing, man. Just, nothing. But I could see it in his face. There were photos. Intimate ones. Mom had been sending explicit pictures to Jake's cousin, and now half his extended family probably knew what my mother looked like naked. I ran to the bathroom and threw up what little lunch I'd managed to eat. When I came back, Jake was holding my phone, looking grim. There's more, isn't there? This isn't just about Derek. I showed him everything. The other guys, the pattern of lies, the fake college courses. Jake listened in silence, his face growing darker with each revelation. Jesus Christ, Ryan. She's been living a double life for months. 8 months, I corrected. Since Dad started working doubles to pay for her education. What are you going to do? That was the million-dollar question. Because now it wasn't just about telling Dad his wife was cheating. Now it was about telling him his wife was cheating with my roommate's cousin, who'd apparently been sharing intimate details about her with his entire social circle. In a town the size of Millbrook, that meant everyone would know. Dad wouldn't just lose his wife, he'd lose his dignity. But there was another option forming in my mind. A darker one. What if instead of just exposing Mom's affairs, I made sure she faced some real consequences first? Jake, I said slowly, how close are you with your cousin Derek? Jake shifted uncomfortably on his bed, running a hand through his hair. I mean, we're not super close. See him at family stuff, maybe hang out when he's in town. Why? My mind was racing, pieces of a plan clicking together like a puzzle I didn't know I was solving. Does he know you're my roommate? That you know my family? No way. I've never mentioned you by name around him, and he's never asked about college or anything. Derek's pretty self-absorbed, he mostly just talks about work and whatever girl he's screwing that week. Jake paused, his expression growing concerned. Ryan, what are you thinking? I pulled up Mom's profile on my phone, staring at her fake smile and her lies about being recently separated. An idea was forming, dangerous and probably stupid, but it felt like the only way to make sure she actually faced consequences instead of just getting divorced and walking away with half of everything Dad had worked for. What if we could catch her in the act? Not just with screenshots, but actually catch her red-handed. Dude, you don't want to see that. Trust me. Not like that, I said quickly. I mean, what if we could set her up? Make her think she's meeting someone new, but instead Dad shows up. Jake stared at me for a long moment. That's actually pretty fucked up. And probably illegal. What she's doing is fucked up too. I stood up, pacing the small space between our beds. She's stealing from him, Jake. Every dollar he makes on those double shifts thinking he's paying for her education, she's spending it on new outfits to wear while she cheats on him. She bought a $140 dress last week. I saw the receipt. How do you know what she spent? Because she used the joint account. Dad's overtime money, going straight to her affair wardrobe. I felt anger building in my chest, hot and righteous. And now I find out she's sending naked pictures to your cousin, who's probably shown them to half the guys in his construction crew. Dad doesn't just deserve to know, he deserves to see exactly what kind of person he's been killing himself to support. Jake was quiet for a minute, processing. Okay, but how would this even work? You can't just catfish your own mom. Why not? I create a fake profile, match with her, get her to agree to meet somewhere. Somewhere public enough that it won't be dangerous, but private enough that when Dad shows up instead of her mystery date, she can't just pretend it's a misunderstanding. And how exactly do you get your dad there? I've been thinking about that too. Anonymous tip. Send him screenshots of her profile and tell him she'll be at whatever restaurant at whatever time, meeting another man. He'll want to see for himself. Ryan, this could blow up in your face spectacularly. What if she recognizes something about your fake profile? What if your dad refuses to go? What if she just leaves when he shows up and denies everything? Those were all valid concerns, but I was past caring about the risks. Then at least I'll have tried to give him the truth in a way that makes it impossible for her to lie her way out of it. Right now she holds all the power because she controls the narrative. This levels the playing field. My phone buzzed. Another message from mom's profile, asterisk, hope I didn't come on too strong earlier. Still interested in meeting up. I'm free Saturday night, face blowing a kiss, asterisk. Saturday night. 3 days away. Dad would be off work by then, he only worked doubles Monday through Friday. Jake, I said, screenshot of mom's message in hand, I need you to tell me everything you know about Derek's usual routine with her. Jake looked at me like I'd suggested robbing a bank. This is insane, Ryan. You're talking about catfishing your own mother. Just tell me what you know, I pressed. Please. He sighed, clearly wrestling with whether to enable what he obviously thought was a terrible idea. Fine. But if this goes sideways, I never had this conversation with you. He pulled out his own phone, scrolling through text messages. Derek's been bragging about his MILF teacher, his words, not mine, for about 2 months now. Says she meets him every Tuesday at the Hampton Inn on Route 9, room 237. Always pays cash, always leaves by 11. My stomach clenched. Room 237. She had a regular room. This wasn't random hookups, this was practically a standing appointment. What else? He says she's paranoid about being recognized, so she always wants to meet somewhere at least 20 minutes from her house. Never the same restaurant twice if they grab drinks first. Jake paused, looking uncomfortable. And she always insists on texting him when she's leaving her house and when she gets home safe. Like she's got it timed down to the minute. That explained the 8:30 p.m. phone calls to Dad. She was probably calling him from restaurant parking lots and hotel bathrooms, establishing her alibi while her hookup waited at the bar. Has Derek mentioned any other guys she's seeing? Oh yeah. He knows about them. Says she told him she's exploring her options before leaving her husband. Derek thinks it's hot, the competition aspect. Jake's expression darkened. He showed me some of their text messages last weekend when he was drunk. She sends him photos, Ryan. Really explicit ones. And he screenshots them. The room spun slightly. Screenshots. Yeah. He's got like a whole folder. Says he's keeping them as insurance in case she gets cold feet and tries to ghost him. Jake grabbed my shoulder as I swayed. Dude, sit down. You look like you're gonna pass out. Insurance. Derek was collecting blackmail material on my mother, and she had no idea. The photos she was sending thinking they'd disappear into the digital ether, he was saving all of them. Probably sharing them too, based on what Jake had said earlier. There's something else, Jake said quietly. Derek mentioned she's been asking about leaving her husband. Like, seriously leaving. Apparently she's been researching divorce lawyers and asking Derek if he'd want something more permanent. The words hit me like a physical blow. It wasn't just affairs. She was planning to blow up our family entirely, probably after she'd squeezed every possible dollar out of Dad's overtime shifts. She'd leave him broke, exhausted, and humiliated while she rode off into the sunset with her construction worker boyfriend who was secretly documenting her naked body for posterity. When's the last time Derek saw her? Yesterday. Tuesday night, remember? He texted me around midnight saying she'd been extra enthusiastic and that he thinks she's falling for him. Jake made a disgusted face. His ego's getting pretty inflated about the whole thing. Perfect. So she was still maintaining her regular schedule, still playing the devoted wife while planning her exit strategy. Still lying to Dad's face every morning when he dragged himself out of bed for another 16-hour shift. My phone buzzed again. Mom's profile, getting impatient, asterisk, really hope you're just busy and not ignoring me. I don't bite, unless you want me to winking face, asterisk. I looked at Jake. I'm doing this. With or without your help. He stared at me for a long moment, then shook his head slowly. You're going to destroy your family. She already did that. I'm just making sure Dad finds out before she steals everything and disappears. And if this backfires? If your dad has a heart attack from the shock? If your mom figures out it was you and turns the whole family against you? Those were risks I'd have to live with. Jake, my dad is killing himself working doubles so she can fuck around with your cousin and plan her escape. She's sending naked pictures to a guy who's blackmailing her with them. This isn't going to end well no matter what I do, at least this way, Dad gets to see who he's really married to before she destroys him completely. Jake was quiet for another minute, then pulled up his contacts. Derek's working a job site about an hour from here. He usually gets off around 6 and hits whatever bar is closest. He looked up at me. If you're really doing this, you'll need to know his schedule so your mom doesn't accidentally run into him while she's meeting your fake profile. I felt a grim smile cross my face. Now you're thinking like a co-conspirator. I'm thinking like someone who doesn't want his roommate to accidentally get his mother and his cousin in the same room while orchestrating the most fucked up family intervention in history. Fair point. This was about to get very complicated. I spent Thursday creating the perfect fake profile. Not Ryan Patterson, obviously, too close to home. Instead, I became Marcus Chin, 25, graduate student at State University studying business law. I used photos from a modeling portfolio I found on some obscure website, carefully cropping out any watermarks. Professional but approachable. Exactly the type of guy Mom seemed to go for based on her message history. The bio took me 3 hours to write, new to the area, looking for someone sophisticated who knows what she wants. Discretion guaranteed. Let's grab dinner somewhere we can really talk. I set my location to Riverside, the town 15 miles east where Mom had never been as far as I knew. Close enough to seem reasonable, far enough to avoid her usual hunting grounds. By Friday morning, I was ready. I swiped right on her profile at exactly 10:47 a.m. when I knew she'd be on her planning period at the elementary school where she taught 3rd grade. The same kids she smiled at every day while living this double life. The match notification came through in 12 minutes. Asterisk, well hello there, handsome. Love a man with ambition. Are you really studying law? I've always found that incredibly attractive. Face blowing a kiss, asterisk. My hands were shaking as I typed back, asterisk, guilty as charged. Though I have to say, your profile caught my attention immediately. You seem like exactly the kind of intelligent, beautiful woman I'd love to get to know better. Asterisk. The response came back so fast she must have been staring at her phone, asterisk, aren't you a charmer? I have to be honest, I'm in a complicated situation. Married but separated, trying to figure out my next steps. I hope that doesn't scare you off. Asterisk. Separated. She was escalating her lies even within her lies. I wondered if she told Derek the same thing, or if each guy got a different version of her fictional marriage problems. Asterisk, I appreciate the honesty. We all have complicated pasts. What matters is what we want for our future, right? Asterisk. Asterisk, exactly. You seem so mature for 25. Most guys your age run when they hear the M-word. You're different. Asterisk. Different. If she only knew how different. We texted back and forth for 2 hours, establishing Marcus as the perfect mark. Ambitious but not pushy, interested but respectful, and most importantly, completely free Saturday night for dinner and drinks. She suggested Martinelli's, an upscale Italian place in Oakwood, exactly 23 minutes from our house. Far enough to feel safe, nice enough to impress her younger conquest. Asterisk, I'll make reservations for 7:30. Private booth in the back. I like to be discreet. Asterisk. Asterisk, perfect. Can't wait to meet you, Lisa. Something tells me tomorrow night is going to be unforgettable. Asterisk. I had no idea how right I was. The plan was simple. Mom would arrive at Martinelli's expecting to meet Marcus Chen, ambitious law student. Instead, she'd find Dad sitting in the booth, holding printouts of every message, every lie, every photo she'd sent to Derek and God knows who else. Jake had managed to get his hands on Derek's insurance folder Thursday night when his cousin passed out drunk at some family dinner. 23 photos spanning 6 weeks. Evidence that would make denial impossible. But Friday afternoon, everything went sideways. I was walking back from my economics class when my phone rang. Dad's number, which was weird, he never called during the day unless something was wrong. Ryan. Hey, buddy, are you sitting down? My stomach dropped. What's wrong? Is Mom okay? Your mom's fine. More than fine, actually. She just got some incredible news. His voice was bright with excitement, happier than I'd heard him sound in months. That digital marketing program she's been taking. Her professor submitted her final project to some big company contest, and she won. $25,000 prize, son. Can you believe it? The world tilted. She won a contest. Peterson Marketing Solutions. They called her this morning, said her project on social media engagement was the most innovative thing they'd seen all year. She's getting flown out to their headquarters in Chicago next week for some big presentation ceremony. I couldn't breathe. There was no digital marketing program. There was no Professor Martinez. There was definitely no Peterson Marketing Solutions contest. Which meant Mom had somehow convinced a fake company to give her $25,000, or... Dad, did they ask for any money up front? Like processing fees or travel deposits? No, nothing like that. They're covering everything, flight, hotel, meals. She even gets to bring a guest. His voice cracked with emotion. Ryan, I'm so proud of her. All those late nights, all that hard work while I was pulling doubles. She kept saying she felt guilty about the sacrifice we were making, but look at how it's paying off. 25 grand, buddy. That's enough to get caught up on the mortgage and maybe even take a real vacation. This was bad. This was catastrophically, world-endingly bad. Mom wasn't just cheating. She was running some kind of elaborate scam. I spent the rest of Friday in a panic spiral, trying to figure out what kind of scam Mom was running while simultaneously preparing to expose her affairs. The Peterson Marketing Solutions website looked legitimate at first glance, but when I dug deeper, it had only existed for 6 weeks. The testimonials were stock photos. The address listed was a UPS store in downtown Chicago. Someone was catfishing my mother while she was catfishing multiple men while I was preparing to catfish her. It was like some twisted pyramid scheme of deception. But the worst part? Dad had already called his supervisor and requested next Friday off so he could fly to Chicago with Mom for her award ceremony. He'd sounded so genuinely happy on the phone, so proud of his wife's accomplishments. Meanwhile, she was probably planning to clean out their joint account and disappear with whoever was behind this Peterson marketing con. I tried calling Jake, but he was at his part-time job at the campus bookstore. I couldn't focus on my political science seminar. By 6 p.m., I was pacing my dorm room like a caged animal, trying to decide if I should call off tomorrow's confrontation and focus on the bigger fraud, or stick with the original plan and deal with one disaster at a time. That's when Mom texted the family group chat, asterisk, celebrating my big win tonight with some classmates. Don't wait up. Love you both so much, red heart, asterisk. Friday night wasn't one of her usual affair nights. Which meant she was either meeting someone new, or... I checked Derek's social media. Posted 20 minutes ago, a photo of a beer and wings at Murphy's Tavern with the caption, celebrating my girl's big day beer mug. She told Derek about the fake contest. She was celebrating her scam money with her Tuesday night regular, probably planning how they'd spend it together. Meanwhile, Dad was at home researching Chicago hotels and looking up flights, thinking he was about to take his first real vacation in 5 years. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus Chen's fake number, the Google Voice account I'd set up yesterday. Asterisk, looking forward to tomorrow night, Lisa. Should I pick you up, or would you prefer to meet there? Asterisk. Her response came back in minutes, asterisk, let's meet there, handsome. I'm still dealing with some complicated family stuff. But I promise I'll make it worth the wait. Face blowing a kiss wearing something special just for you. Asterisk. Family stuff. She meant Dad's excitement about her fake award, and probably his insistence on celebrating her success. She was juggling 3 different lies: the affair with Derek, the fake contest, and tomorrow night's planned hookup with Marcus, while Dad planned their dream vacation with money that didn't exist. I made my decision. Tomorrow's confrontation was happening, Peterson marketing scam or not. Because if I waited any longer, Mom might disappear entirely with whatever money she could steal, leaving Dad broke, heartbroken, and probably criminally liable for whatever fraud she was involved in. Jake finally called me back at 9:30, sounding exhausted from his shift. Please tell me you're having second thoughts about tomorrow. It's worse than we thought, I said, and filled him in on the Peterson marketing situation. Jesus Christ, Ryan. Your mom's not just cheating, she's running a full-scale identity theft operation or something. Which is exactly why Dad needs to see who he's really married to before she destroys his life completely. I pulled up the reservation confirmation for Martinelli's. I already called the restaurant and confirmed our booth. Table 12, back corner, 7:30 p.m. Perfect sight lines from the entrance, but private enough for a confrontation. And your dad gets an anonymous call at 7:45 with Mom's exact location and instructions to bring a camera. I bought a burner phone that afternoon specifically for this purpose. By 8 o'clock, this whole nightmare will be over. Jake was quiet for a long moment. What if she runs? What if she sees your dad walk in and just bolts? I'd thought about that too. Then at least he'll know the truth. And I'll have screenshots of her trying to cheat, even if we don't catch her in person. And what if she figures out Marcus Chen is you? She won't. I've been careful. But even as I said it, I felt a chill of uncertainty. Mom was clearly smarter and more devious than I'd ever imagined. If she could orchestrate fake marketing contests and maintain multiple affairs simultaneously, maybe she was smart enough to see through one 19-year-old's revenge plot. I guess I'd find out tomorrow night. Saturday afternoon, I got a text that made my blood freeze. Asterisk, hey sweetie. Change of plans for tonight. Your father surprised me with dinner reservations at Martinelli's to celebrate my award. Isn't that romantic? We're going at 7:30. Love you. Asterisk. I stared at the message, my carefully constructed plan crumbling in real time. Dad had made reservations at the exact same restaurant, at the exact same time, where Mom was supposed to meet Marcus Chen. The same booth I'd specifically requested for maximum privacy during a confrontation that was now going to happen whether I wanted it to or not. My phone buzzed again, this time from Mom's dating profile to Marcus, asterisk, rain check on tonight, handsome. Family emergency came up. How about Sunday instead? I promise I'll make it extra special to make up for the short notice face blowing a kiss, asterisk. She was trying to postpone our fake date because Dad was taking her to celebrate her fake award with money from his real overtime shifts. The irony would have been hilarious if it wasn't about to destroy my family. I called Jake, pacing frantically around our dorm room. She's going to be there anyway, I said without preamble. Dad surprised her with dinner at Martinelli's. Same time, probably same section of the restaurant. Dude, that's actually perfect. You don't need to catfish her anymore. Just show up and confront her directly. With what proof? That she has a dating profile? She can delete it in 30 seconds and claim someone stole her photos. That she's been lying about night classes. She can say she wanted to surprise us with the contest news. I slumped onto my bed. The only evidence that's undeniable is catching her actively trying to cheat. So convince her to uncancel the Marcus date. I was already typing, asterisk, family emergency. I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope everything's okay. I was really looking forward to meeting you tonight. Asterisk. Her response came back fast, asterisk, you're so sweet. It's actually good news, my husband wants to celebrate something with me. Guilt trip much? Face with rolling eyes, but I'd much rather be spending the evening with a handsome younger man, asterisk. Asterisk, what if I told you I was going to be at Martinelli's tonight anyway? Business dinner with a potential client. Maybe we could steal a few minutes to finally meet in person. Even just drinks at the bar. Asterisk. The typing indicator showed she was writing, stopping, writing again. This was either going to work or she was going to block Marcus entirely. Asterisk, that's so tempting. What time is your dinner? Asterisk. Asterisk 8:30. I could be at the bar by 8:15, just for one quick drink before my meeting. Asterisk. Asterisk, this is crazy, but, okay. One drink. I'll tell my husband I'm running to the ladies' room. But just for like 10 minutes, and we have to be super discreet. Asterisk. My hands were shaking as I screenshot the conversation. She was going to meet Marcus for a drink while on a date with Dad. In the same restaurant. She was so addicted to the thrill of cheating that she couldn't pass up the opportunity even when it required sneaking away from her husband mid-dinner. Asterisk, I'll be wearing a navy suit, sitting at the far end of the bar. Can't wait to finally see you in person, Lisa. Asterisk. Asterisk, I'll find you face blowing a kiss, this is so bad but I can't help myself around you. Asterisk. I had her. In less than 3 hours, Mom would excuse herself from celebrating her fake award with Dad, walk to the bar, and look around for a man in a navy suit who didn't exist. And I'd be sitting right there with my phone recording everything. But first, I needed to get to Martinelli's and figure out the layout. If this was going to work, I had to know exactly where Dad would be sitting, where the bar was positioned, and how to capture everything without being seen. Jake agreed to drive me, though he spent the entire 20-minute trip trying to talk me out of it. Last chance to just tell your dad the truth like a normal person, he said as we pulled into Martinelli's parking lot at 6:45. Normal people don't have mothers who run fake marketing scams while cheating with their roommates' cousins, I replied, checking my phone. Mom had sent Marcus another message, asterisk, getting ready now. Picked out something I think you'll like, winking face, asterisk. The restaurant was exactly what I'd expected from the photos online, dimly lit, intimate booths along the walls, a curved bar near the entrance with a clear view of the dining area. Table 12 was in the back corner, secluded but not isolated. Perfect for a romantic dinner, terrible for hiding infidelity. I found a small table near the bar with a direct sightline to booth 12 and claimed it, ordering a Coke and telling the waitress I was waiting for friends. From here, I could see everything: Dad and Mom's dinner, her inevitable trip to the bar, and most importantly, her face when she realized Marcus Chen wasn't coming. At 7:25, I watched my parents walk in. Dad looked better than I'd seen him in months. He'd actually shaved and was wearing the blue button-down shirt Mom bought him for Christmas 2 years ago. His shoulders weren't slumped with exhaustion for once, and he kept grinning at Mom like they were newlyweds instead of a couple married for 18 years. Mom looked stunning. She was wearing a black dress I'd never seen before, probably another sale purchase, and her hair was styled in loose waves that caught the restaurant's ambient lighting perfectly. She kept touching Dad's arm and laughing at his jokes, playing the role of devoted wife so convincingly that for a moment I almost doubted everything I discovered. But then I saw her check her phone while Dad was talking to their waiter. A quick glance, followed by that familiar secretive smile. Marcus Chen's messages, probably. Confirming their 8:15 bar meetup while sitting 3 feet away from her husband. They ordered wine, a bottle of Chianti that cost more than Dad usually spent on groceries for a week. I watched him hesitate when he saw the price, then square his shoulders and nod to the waiter anyway. Celebrating his wife's fake achievement with money he'd earned working 16-hour days. At 7:52, Mom's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her face went pale. From my position near the bar, I couldn't see her screen, but I could guess what she was reading. Because at 7:51, I'd sent Marcus Chen's final message, running a few minutes late. Had to take a call about the Peterson marketing situation. See you at 8:15. I watched her excuse herself from the table, telling Dad she needed to powder her nose. Instead of heading toward the restrooms, she walked straight to the hostess station and pulled out her phone. My burner phone buzzed 30 seconds later. What do you know about Peterson marketing? Who are you really? She was panicking. The mention of her fake contest had spooked her enough to break character completely. I typed back quickly, sorry, that was unclear. My client tonight is Peterson Marketing Solutions. They mentioned working with Elisa Patterson recently. Small world, right? Are you the teacher who won their contest? I watched from across the restaurant as she read the message, her hand actually trembling. She looked around the restaurant frantically, like she expected FBI agents to emerge from behind the wine display. I can't meet tonight. This is too weird. Family emergency just came up. Lisa, wait. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Are you okay? You seem upset. But she was already walking back toward Dad, phone clutched in her death grip. I watched her slide into the booth and lean across the table, speaking urgently in his ear. Dad's expression shifted from confused to concerned as she kept talking. Then they both stood up. Dad threw 2 20s on the table, enough to cover their wine and appetizers, and they headed for the exit. Mom kept looking over her shoulder like someone was following them, her paranoia in full overdrive. I'd spooked her too badly. Instead of catching her in an attempted affair, I'd accidentally revealed that someone connected to her Peterson marketing scam was in the same restaurant. She was probably convinced Marcus Chen was either a federal investigator or someone involved in whatever fraud she was running. As they reached the door, Dad turned back one last time, scanning the restaurant. For just a moment, his eyes met mine across the dimly lit dining room. He didn't recognize me immediately. I was wearing a baseball cap pulled low and had borrowed one of Jake's hoodies. But something in his expression shifted. A flicker of confusion, like he was trying to place a familiar face in an unexpected location. Then Mom grabbed his arm and pulled him outside. My phone buzzed with a family text, sorry honey, had to leave dinner early. Mom's not feeling well. Love you. I sat in the empty restaurant, staring at my untouched Coke, realizing I'd just made everything infinitely worse. By the time Jake picked me up from Martinelli's, I'd received 17 text messages from Mom's profile and 3 increasingly frantic calls from the burner phone. She was spiraling, convinced that Marcus Chen was somehow connected to whatever Peterson marketing scam she was running. The drive back to campus was silent until Jake finally spoke up. So what now? Your parents think your mom is sick, she thinks Marcus is FBI, and you still haven't actually caught her doing anything. I stared out the passenger window at the dark highway. She'll calm down in a day or 2. Realize she's being paranoid. Then she'll want to meet Marcus to figure out what he knows. Dude, I think you broke her. Did you see how she looked when they left? Like she'd seen a ghost. That was the problem. I'd wanted to catch her cheating, not send her into some kind of paranoid breakdown. But as we pulled into the campus parking lot, my phone buzzed with a message that changed everything. Marcus, I'm sorry about tonight. I panicked. Can we talk tomorrow? There are things you don't understand about my situation. She was taking the bait. Instead of running away, she was leaning in, probably convinced she needed to manage whatever threat Marcus represented. I typed back, of course. I was worried I'd said something wrong. Want to meet for coffee? Somewhere quiet where we can talk. Yes. But not anywhere local. Can you meet me in Riverside? There's a Starbucks on Maple Street. 2 p.m. Riverside. 30 minutes from Millbrook, far enough that she felt safe from prying eyes. I knew the Starbucks she meant. It was in a strip mall next to a Target, busy enough to blend in but not so crowded that conversations could be overheard. Perfect. I'll be there. Jake read over my shoulder as I typed. This is insane. You're going to meet your own mother face to face while pretending to be someone else. The reality of it hit me like a brick wall. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., I'd be sitting across the table from Mom while she tried to figure out if Marcus Chen was a threat to whatever con she was running. She'd be looking right at me, talking to me, maybe even lying to me about her marriage and her life, and I'd have to pretend to be a complete stranger. I'll wear sunglasses, I said weakly. Keep the hat pulled down. She's not expecting to see me there. Ryan, she gave birth to you. She'll recognize you even if you're wearing a full disguise. But I was already planning it out. I'd get there early, pick a corner table with my back to the entrance. When she walked in looking for Marcus Chen, I'd wave her over before she got a good look at my face. The lighting in that Starbucks was terrible, fluorescent overheads that cast shadows everywhere. If I was careful, if I kept my voice slightly deeper, if I acted nothing like her son. My phone buzzed again. This time it was the family group chat. Dad, asterisk, Mom's feeling better. Just needed some air. Going to try to reschedule our celebration dinner for next week. Asterisk. Next week. When they were supposed to be in Chicago for the fake Peterson marketing ceremony. I wondered if Mom was planning to disappear then, or if she was going to string Dad along even further. Another message came through, this one from Mom's dating profile to Marcus, asterisk, I need to ask you something tomorrow, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Can you promise me that? Asterisk. Asterisk, of course. You can trust me, Lisa. Asterisk. If she only knew how loaded that statement was. I spent the rest of Saturday night rehearsing. Different voice, different posture, different mannerisms. Jake helped by asking me questions while I stayed in character, pointing out whenever I slipped into my normal speaking patterns. You say, like, too much when you're nervous, he observed after our third run-through. And you tap your fingers the same way your mom does. She'll notice that. By midnight, I had Marcus Chen's personality down to a science. Confident but not arrogant, curious but not pushy, sympathetic but not naive. Everything Mom would want in a potential ally or threat she needed to neutralize. Tomorrow would tell me which one she thought he was. Sunday morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from an unknown number. The voicemails were all the same, heavy breathing, then hang-ups. By the time I checked my phone at 8 a.m., they'd stopped, but my stomach was already churning with dread. Jake was still asleep when I crept out of our dorm at noon, wearing his black baseball cap and a hoodie I'd borrowed from his closet. The drive to Riverside took 35 minutes, which gave me plenty of time to rehearse Marcus Chen's voice and practice keeping my hands still on the steering wheel. I arrived at the Starbucks at 1:30 and chose a corner table with my back to the entrance, exactly as planned. The Sunday afternoon crowd was perfect cover, college students with laptops, families with strollers, enough ambient noise that our conversation wouldn't carry. I ordered a large black coffee and positioned myself so the afternoon sun streaming through the windows would backlight my face, casting shadows across my features. At 1:58, I heard heels clicking across the tile floor. Quick, sharp steps that I recognized from 18 years of hearing Mom rush around our kitchen before work. I kept my eyes on my phone, waiting. Marcus? I looked up slowly, keeping the brim of my cap low. Lisa. Please, sit down. She looked different than she had at Martinelli's the night before. Older somehow, like the stress of the past 12 hours had aged her. She was wearing jeans and a sweater instead of her usual date-night glamour, and her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. For a moment, she looked like just my mom again, tired, worried, human. Then she opened her mouth. I need you to tell me exactly how you know about Peterson Marketing Solutions. Her voice was ice-cold, nothing like the flirty, breathless tone she used in her messages. This was Mom in full teacher mode, the voice she used when she caught students cheating on tests. I told you last night, I said, keeping my voice slightly hoarse. They're a potential client. Small marketing firm, looking to expand their social media presence. I leaned forward, letting concern creep into Marcus's voice. Lisa, you seemed really upset when I mentioned them. Is everything okay? She studied my face intently, and for a terrifying moment I thought she'd recognize me. But the shadows held, and after a few seconds she relaxed slightly. They offered me a job, she said carefully. 25,000 signing bonus, which seemed too good to be true. A job. Not a contest. Another lie, even to her fake boyfriend. I filed that information away and nodded sympathetically. That does sound unusual for a firm their size. Did they ask for any personal information? Bank accounts, social security numbers. Her laugh was bitter. Everything. They wanted complete financial disclosure as part of the background check for the signing bonus. She traced the rim of her coffee cup with one finger. I was supposed to fly to Chicago Friday for the final interview. Supposed to. I'm not going. She looked up at me, and her eyes were harder than I'd ever seen them. Because I think Peterson Marketing Solutions is a front for something else. And I think you know exactly what that something is. My heart hammered against my ribs. She thought Marcus was part of whatever scam was targeting her. Which meant she knew it was a scam, which meant she'd been planning to steal $25,000 from criminals. Lisa, I have no idea what you're talking about. Really? Because it's quite a coincidence that the day after I get a suspicious job offer, I match with a handsome law student whose client just happens to be the same company. She leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. So I'll ask you again, Marcus. Who are you really? The coffee shop suddenly felt suffocating. Mom was staring at me with laser focus, waiting for an answer that could either save my cover or blow up everything. I forced myself to meet her eyes while my mind raced through possible responses. You think I'm running some kind of scam? I let genuine confusion creep into Marcus's voice. Lisa, I'm a 25-year-old grad student. I wait tables at Applebee's on weekends to pay rent. If I was masterminding elaborate corporate fraud, don't you think I'd have a better car than a 2018 Honda Civic? She didn't laugh. The best con artists never look like con artists. Okay, let's say you're right. Let's say I'm some criminal mastermind who created Peterson Marketing Solutions to steal your information. I leaned forward, keeping my voice low. Why would I then create a dating profile, match with you specifically, and arrange to meet you in person? Wouldn't that be the dumbest possible way to run a con? For the first time since she sat down, uncertainty flickered across her face. Maybe you're trying to figure out how much I know. Or maybe, I said, pulling out my phone, I'm exactly who I said I am, and this is all a really weird coincidence. I scrolled to my fake LinkedIn profile. Jake had helped me create it yesterday with Marcus Chen's graduate program details. Business law student at State, working on my thesis about corporate liability in digital marketing. Peterson Marketing reached out to me 3 weeks ago through my professor's recommendation. She studied the LinkedIn profile, her teacher instincts automatically fact-checking details. The university was real, the program existed, and I'd been careful to make Marcus's academic history plausible. This could all be fake, she said, but her voice had lost some of its edge. So could your marriage troubles, I countered. For all I know, you're actually a federal investigator trying to bust Peterson Marketing, and you're using dating apps to find their associates. That got a reaction. She actually smiled, a real one, not the practiced flirtation from her dating photos. Trust me, if I was FBI, I'd have better training than this. So we're both just paranoid people who've watched too many crime documentaries. Maybe. She was quiet for a moment, sipping her latte. The Peterson thing really is suspicious though. They contacted me out of nowhere, claimed they'd seen my innovative work in social media engagement, but I've never published anything. Never even have a professional online presence beyond LinkedIn. This was it. The opening I needed to understand what she'd been planning. What were you going to do? Take the job interview. I was curious about the signing bonus, she admitted. $25,000 would solve a lot of problems right now. My husband's been working himself to death trying to support us while I figure out my career, and the guilt is. She trailed off, staring into her coffee cup. The guilt. She felt guilty about Dad's overtime shifts, but not guilty enough to stop meeting Derek Morrison twice a week at the Hampton Inn. My hands clenched under the table, but I kept Marcus's expression sympathetic. Financial stress is hard on marriages, I offered. You have no idea. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. I've made some really bad choices lately. Choices that would destroy my family if they came out. I thought maybe the Peterson money could be a fresh start, a way to come clean and make things right. She was going to confess. Not about the affairs, but about considering theft from criminals to fix problems created by her affairs. The irony was suffocating. What kind of choices? I asked gently. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and her entire demeanor shifted back to alert wariness. I should go, she said abruptly, standing up. This was a mistake. Lisa, wait. But she was already walking toward the exit, moving fast. I caught up to her in the parking lot, my heart pounding as I called out, Lisa, please. She spun around, keys already in her hand. Stay away from me, Marcus. Or whoever you really are. It's Marcus, I swear. I pulled off my sunglasses, forgetting for a moment that I was supposed to keep them on. Look, I get that you're scared. The Peterson thing sounds like a classic advance fee scam. They build trust, ask for personal information, then clean out your accounts before disappearing. She stopped moving toward her car. Advance fee scam. It's my thesis topic, I said, the lie coming easier now. Corporate fraud in digital marketing. I've researched hundreds of cases just like this. They target people in financial distress, offer jobs or prizes that seem too good to be true, then they steal everything. Her shoulders sagged. God, I'm such an idiot. I actually thought about giving them my banking information. But you didn't, right? She looked away. I filled out their preliminary forms Friday morning. Before my husband surprised me with the celebration dinner. Full financial disclosure, bank accounts, credit cards, mortgage information. She met my eyes again. They have everything, don't they? My blood ran cold. Not only had Mom been planning to participate in fraud, she'd already handed over every piece of information needed to destroy Dad financially. Our mortgage, his retirement savings, the joint accounts with his overtime money, it was all compromised. Lisa, you need to call your bank. Right now. Freeze everything. I can't. Her voice cracked. My husband thinks I won a legitimate contest. He's already requested time off work to fly to Chicago with me Friday. If I suddenly start panicking about our accounts being compromised, he'll want to know why. So tell him the truth. Which truth? She snapped. That I was stupid enough to fall for an online scam. That I've been lying about night classes for 8 months. That the contest he's so proud of was me trying to steal money from criminals. The afternoon sun was beating down on the parking lot asphalt, but I felt ice cold. She knew exactly how many lies she'd been living, knew exactly how much damage she'd done, and she was more concerned about protecting her cover than protecting Dad's life savings. Your husband deserves to know his accounts are at risk, I said. My husband deserves a lot of things he's not getting. The bitterness in her voice was startling. But if I tell him about Peterson Marketing, I'll have to explain why I applied for a fake job in the first place. And then I'll have to explain why we need $25,000 so badly. And then what? She looked directly at me, and for a moment I saw something desperate and cornered in her expression. Then I'll lose everything that matters to me. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad to our family group chat, excited for our Chicago trip. Just booked a nice hotel near the Peterson Marketing building. This is going to be the best weekend we've had in years. Mom's phone buzzed with the same message. She read it, closed her eyes, and let out a shaky breath. He booked the hotel, she whispered. Lisa. I have to go. She was already walking toward her car again. Don't contact me again, Marcus. Delete my number, delete my profile, forget we ever met. Wait. I called after her. What about Peterson Marketing? What about your accounts? She paused with her hand on the car door handle. I'll figure something out. Then she was gone, leaving me standing alone in a Starbucks parking lot, 30 miles from campus, holding the weight of secrets that could destroy my family in less than 5 days. I drove back to campus in a daze, my hands shaking so badly I had to pull over twice. By the time I reached my dorm, Jake was pacing the room like a caged animal. Thank God you're back. We have a massive problem. He held up his phone, showing me a string of missed calls from Derek Morrison. My cousin's been trying to reach me all day. Something about his teacher MILF going completely psycho on him. My stomach dropped. What happened? Derek went to their usual Tuesday spot last night, the Hampton Inn. Waited in room 237 for 2 hours. Your mom never showed. Jake sat heavily on his bed. When he texted her this morning asking what happened, she told him they couldn't see each other anymore. No explanation, just a complete cutoff. I thought about mom's paranoid behavior at Starbucks, her conviction that Marcus Chen was connected to some larger conspiracy. She's spooked. The Peterson marketing thing has her thinking everyone's a threat. It gets worse. Derek's pissed about being ghosted, so he did something really fucking stupid. Jake's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. He sent her screenshots of some of their previous conversations. The explicit ones. Told her if she was going to play games, he had insurance. The room spun slightly. He's blackmailing her. Not for money. He wants to keep their arrangement going, and he figured threatening to show the photos to her family would bring her back in line. Jake ran his hands through his hair. Ryan, my cousin just accidentally declared war on your mother while she's already having a breakdown about federal investigators. My phone buzzed with a text from mom to the family chat, *, feeling much better today. Looking forward to our Chicago trip. Ryan, can you call me tonight? Want to catch up before the big celebration. *. She wanted to talk to me. After spending an hour lying to my face while I pretended to be Marcus Chen, after admitting she'd compromised our family's financial security, after cutting off Derek and triggering his blackmail threats, she wanted to have a normal mother-son phone call. I can't, I said out loud. I can't sit there and pretend everything's normal while she's... While she's what? You still don't have actual proof she cheated. Derek's blackmail photos prove they were sexting, but that's not the same thing as proving they met up. He was right, and that realization hit me like a brick wall. I'd been so focused on catching mom in an affair that I'd missed the bigger picture. The Peterson marketing scam, Derek's blackmail, the fake Chicago trip, any one of these could destroy our family without me having to prove a single instance of physical cheating. But Dad deserved to know everything. Not just that his wife was being targeted by scammers, but that she'd been living a double life for 8 months. That she felt guilty about his sacrifice but not guilty enough to stop betraying him. My phone rang. Mom's number. Answer it, Jake whispered. Act normal. See what she wants. I picked up on the 4th ring. Hey Mom. Hi sweetie. How was your weekend? I feel like we haven't talked in forever. Her voice was bright and artificial, nothing like the desperate woman I'd met at Starbucks 3 hours ago. It was fine. Just studying mostly. Jake and I went to see a movie Saturday night. The lies came easily now, I was apparently my mother's son in more ways than I'd realized. That's nice, honey. Listen, I wanted to ask you about something. Have you been getting any weird calls or messages lately? Any strangers trying to contact you about our family? My blood chilled. What kind of strangers? Oh, probably nothing. Just some spam calls about marketing surveys and financial services. You know how these scammers work, they get one family member's information and try to use it to target everyone else. Her laugh sounded forced. I just want to make sure you're being careful about giving out personal information. She was fishing. Trying to figure out if Peterson Marketing had contacted me, or if anyone else in the family was aware of her compromised situation. Even now, even after everything, she was still trying to control the narrative. No weird calls, I said. Should I be worried about something? Not at all. Your father and I just want to make sure our family stays safe, especially with all these online scams targeting people these days. Another fake laugh. Actually, that's part of why I'm so excited about this Chicago trip. The Peterson marketing people seem so legitimate and professional. It's nice to know there are still honest companies out there. I wanted to scream. She was lying to me about the scam while simultaneously using it as an example of corporate honesty. The cognitive dissonance was staggering. That's great, Mom. You deserve the recognition. Thank you, sweetheart. That means everything to me. Her voice softened, and for a moment she sounded like the mother who used to read me bedtime stories and bandage my scraped knees. I love you so much, Ryan. I hope you know that everything I do is to try to make a better life for our family. I love you too, Mom. After I hung up, Jake and I sat in silence for several minutes. So what's the play? He finally asked. I looked at my phone, then at the folder of screenshots I'd compiled over the past week. Evidence of affairs, fraud, lies, and now blackmail. A complete dossier of family destruction. We're going to Chicago, I said. The Peterson Marketing Solutions office didn't exist. Jake and I stood outside 425 Michigan Avenue at 9:47 a.m. Friday morning, staring at a Subway sandwich shop where Mom's award ceremony was supposed to be happening in 3 hours. 23rd floor, suite 2340, I read from Dad's excited text messages. Peterson Marketing Solutions corporate headquarters. Jake checked the building directory. This place only has 12 floors, and there's no Peterson Marketing anything listed. My parents were somewhere in downtown Chicago, probably getting ready for lunch before Mom's fake 1 p.m. ceremony. Dad had posted photos on Facebook that morning, Mom smiling in the hotel lobby, both of them looking happier than I'd seen them in years. The caption read, "So proud of my brilliant wife. Today's the big day." I pulled out my phone and called the number from Peterson Marketing's website. Disconnected. The company that had stolen our family's financial information had vanished completely, leaving Mom to face Dad's excitement about an award ceremony that would never happen. There, Jake pointed across the street. Starbucks. Your parents will probably end up there when they can't find the office. We found a table with a clear view of the entrance and waited. At 12:43 p.m., I saw them walking down Michigan Avenue, Dad in his best suit, Mom in a navy dress I'd never seen before. Dad kept checking his watch and pointing at building numbers, clearly trying to navigate to an address that didn't exist. At 12:58, they stood outside 425 Michigan Avenue, having the same conversation Jake and I had an hour earlier. I watched Dad pull out his phone, probably calling Peterson Marketing's dead number. I watched Mom's face go through a careful performance of confusion and disappointment. But I also saw her check her own phone and frown. Derek Morrison had been texting her all week, escalating his blackmail threats as she continued to ignore him. This morning's message, which Jake had shown me via Derek's social media complaints, was particularly explicit. Answer your phone or your husband sees everything tonight. At 1:15, they crossed the street and entered our Starbucks. I waited until they ordered and sat down before approaching their table. Mom. Dad. They looked up, Dad's face lighting up with surprise, Mom's going pale with shock. Ryan. What are you doing in Chicago? Dad stood up to hug me. Visiting Jake's cousin, I said, the lie prepared. He lives here. What are you guys doing? I thought you had that award ceremony thing. Mom's eyes were locked on mine, searching for any sign that I knew more than I was letting on. There was some kind of mix-up with the address, she said carefully. We're trying to figure out where the Peterson marketing office is. Peterson Marketing? I pulled out my phone, making a show of Googling it. Weird. Their website isn't loading. And this address shows up as a sandwich shop. Dad took my phone, his smile fading as he scrolled through the search results. Lisa, what's the number they called you from? I don't remember off the top of my head. Check your phone. Mom's hands were shaking as she scrolled through her contacts. It's not. I think I deleted it by accident. Dad was quiet for a long moment, looking at his wife with growing understanding. Lisa, there's no Peterson Marketing Solutions, is there? Of course there is. There has to be. Show me the email. The one about winning the contest. I don't have it with me. It's on your phone. You showed it to me last week. I watched my mother realize that her 8 months of lies were collapsing in real time. She could delete dating profiles and block Derek's number, but she couldn't make a fake company materialize in downtown Chicago. Dad, I said quietly, there's something else you need to know. I pulled out my phone and showed him the screenshots. All of them. The dating profiles, the hotel receipts, the message threads with Derek, the blackmail photos Derek had sent to my DMs after Mom blocked him everywhere else. Dad looked at each image in silence, his face aging years in the space of minutes. Mom watched him scroll through the evidence of her double life, her carefully constructed world crumbling with each swipe. 18 years, he whispered finally. Tom, I can explain. 18 years of marriage, and this is who you really are. The divorce was finalized 4 months later. Dad kept the house and his retirement savings. Mom moved in with Derek Morrison, who dropped the blackmail once he got what he wanted. She still teaches 3rd grade, but in a different district now. I never told Dad about pretending to be Marcus Chen. Some secrets are worth keeping. Last week, Dad started dating a woman from his bowling league. Her name is Carol, and she laughs at his jokes without checking her phone once.